All right, here we go.
The Batman, directed by Matt Reeves. Now, this will be a spoiler review, but I think by now people have already seen it, so spoilers, you have been warned. If you haven't seen it, go see it. This movie was so great. This movie was so good, and I love that this is a totally different Batman than we've seen before. Now, the premise of this time is that Batman has been roaming Gotham around 2 years now, and all of a sudden this new crime villain shows up named the Riddler, who starts killing politicians, starting to wreak havoc, basically, because he wants to reveal the truth, because Gotham is so corrupt and everything. And I must say, Paul Dano as the Riddler is very great. He's very creepy, he gives us a very scary vibe, and I really like his performances is so good. Like, him as the Riddler was really a great choice. He gives really a great performance in the movie. The Riddler is very terrifying throughout the movie, but like Robert Pattinson as Batman is great. Like, Robert Pattinson as Batman is so great. I mean, this is a version of the Batman that we've never seen before on screen, what I also loved before, because other versions, if you've seen, like, we already seen like before, like, you know, Batman already established, and this is completely different this time, because in this universe, Bruce Wayne has only been Batman for 2 years, so this is a very young, not yet fully experienced Batman, what I love to see. I love to see that version of the Batman, because you can see he doesn't figure out stuff right away. He still struggles, like, does he wants to be Batman? Like, does he think he can make an impact that he does? You know, there's like so much emotional. This is a very emotional Batman. We've never seen such an emotional Batman, I think, yet. Because you can see even when he's wearing the cowl and everything, like, you can see he acts more on emotions than on logic, like other Batman. The inspiration that they took for this Batman is a lot of Batman Year One and Detective Batman comics. Because, like, there's a lot of detective work, which I love. I love that we get to see Robert Pattinson. It's basically like 85% of the movie he's in his Batman suit, which is just awesome, which I also think fits the character so well, because you can truly see that Bruce Wayne prefers to be Batman than being Bruce Wayne. I also love the relationship he has with Alfred, played by Andy Serkis. He's not a lot in the movie, Alfred. I do wish we would get more Alfred, a little bit more of how the relationship is, but we do get this great scene between them in the hospital where after Alfred gets injured. I do like that they talk about the moment when his parents died and not showed it again. I feel like that kind of added more weight and was more emotional scene and better done than seeing over again for the 10th time Bruce Wayne's being killed, you know, coming from the opera. Like I said, the relationship is really great. I also love the relationship that he has with Jim Gordon, played by Jeffrey Wright, who was phenomenal in the movie. He's so great. What I really love about this movie is, like, he works a lot with Jim Gordon and the police force, but the police force doesn't trust Batman. They don't like Batman, they don't trust, like, this vigilante, and Jim Gordon's the only person who trusts and knows that Batman can help Gotham. And I love that throughout the entire movie, like, Batman has to kind of work to earn their trust, you know, of the Gotham PD, and the same goes vice versa, you know, like, they both kind of learn how to trust each other, so that at the end, when then Batman, you know, helps the Gotham PD and stands with them, they see him as one of them and not as, like, this crazy vigilante who they're trying to catch. And that's why I love the whole relationship with Jim Gordon, with them two solving clues, solving the riddle, and them they're back and forth right away. I really like how they build the relationships in these movies. And Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman is great. I mean, it's really great as Catwoman. All the characters is like, I love those iterations of those characters in this universe, and I love how Gotham looks. I love the whole vibe, everything. It reminds me a lot of Arkham Asylum, the video game. And what I do must say, like, this is the best version of Gotham that we have seen, because, like, this version of Gotham in the Batman movie is the most, feel like, realistic. You live in it, you can really feel like this, okay, this is Gotham. We finally got a great, I think the most accurate version of Gotham in the movie, like I said. But it reminded me a lot of Arkham Asylum. What I said, like, this movie takes inspirations from Batman Year One, Detective Comic Batmans, and Arkham Asylum rolled up into one. Because, like I said, when Batman tries to get all the clues, and also how he roams around throughout the city, it's just like, it reminded me a lot of the game Arkham Knight, which is a great game. I also love about Falcone, the way he's represented in the movie, and the whole mystery and mob, and you get to see how corrupt everything in Gotham is. It's just so great. And that's also how Zoe Kravitz is involved with her whole backstory inside it. And also love the relationship between Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman and Batman when they have. When she tells him the city's never going to change, he will continue going to this path of destruction and pain and loss and everything. It's just done really great. And Colin Firth as the Penguin, it was unrecognizable. I didn't recognize Colin Firth as the Penguin throughout the entire time, but that's a great performance. And this version of Penguin is awesome. I love this version of the Penguin. It's done so great. All the characters fit so well and all the performances are so great throughout the movie. Like, there's not even a character or a moment where a character goes like super over the top or we go like, oh, that didn't fit there. The whole tone and vibe of the movie was something I had to get used to at first, because like the movie's 3 hours long, so you will get used to it, but it didn't really feel the 2 or 3 hours long. It felt more like 2 hours, to be honest. Like for me, like it didn't feel at all like 3 hours. It felt more like 2.5 hours, something like that. Because every time you think like, oh, the movie's gonna end, oh no, the movie continues. And like I had this several times, like, okay, I think we're close to wrapping up. Nope, okay, another 30 more minutes. Let's go. It kind of has that feel of a video game, like, you know, you're done with something and then it continues, keep going, which I just loved so much about. And I love how the movie starts out also when, you know, how they represent Batman is like when you have the shot of a shadow place, and then you think the way you have a voiceover of Batman talking about, you know, what he's been doing. And I love the way they open it, like you see a dark place, a shadow basically, and you think, is Batman there? Or is he Batman there? Because I love how every time he becomes Batman, he comes out of a dark place and all you hear is footprints. But you don't know where the footprints are, so you don't know where Batman is exactly coming from. So I love that opening of the beginning of the movie. I think it set Batman perfectly. That setup that like when robbers look to a dark alley and like, oh shit, Batman might be there. It's done so great. And also as we see in the trailer with those, you know, bald people where he beats up the dude and says, "I'm vengeance." It's just so great. Also what I love, like they call him Vengeance throughout the entire movie. Like they don't call him Batman, which actually makes sense because he keeps saying I'm vengeance. So it's like, vengeance, come on, let's go. It was so funny and over the top. And also love we did this great chase sequence in the movie where Batman chases the Penguin. It was just like, I love that sequence. Like I was the only one in cinemas cheering and making noise when Batman jumped through the fire with the Batmobile. I was like, yes! Everybody was dead quiet. I was like, ain't this a bitch? Like, how can you be quiet? This is epic. This is happening right in front of our screens. As far as down points of the movie, I think the only problem is with this movie is like, they kind of forget about the Riddler throughout the movie, because like I said, you have this whole mystery going on with Falcone and Bruce Wayne and everything, and Zoe Kravitz and Catwoman, everything that takes up also a majority of the movie, that the Riddler falls back, and then you kind of like the last 30 minutes, oh, now we gotta catch the Riddler. It's like kind of like, oh yeah, we still have the Riddler going on. I think they should have involved him more throughout the process, because like that he's a good chunk in the movie is about solving the riddles of the Riddler, but then all of a sudden that's like, okay, we have to focus now on this Mafia Falcone thing, and then the Riddler just like pops back in the last 30 minutes. What kind of felt like the only down point, a negative part of the movie. Like they should have a little bit more, I must say. But I must say, the Riddler is like so great. I love his plan when he blows up the harbor. I love that. It, like my brother told me there's something that also happened in the Arkham Knight game, but I love that. I love the whole vibe and everything about it, and I love how Batman, when he fights, is like this unexperienced Batman. Like I said before, like when he fights, he struggles, he doesn't hit every blow, or when he escapes from the police station, you know, he knocks down to the ground. When I felt like, oh, Batman's dead. But it's like, I love this unexperienced Batman that has to push himself. Like he's not that badass Batman that we all know. Like when he fights at the end, you know, with the followers of the Riddler, and like you can see it's really taking a toll of him. And when I love that he has a bulletproof suit, and every time somebody shoots him, like it affects him. It's not like somebody shoots him, he gets up and he's perfectly fine. Like no, he feels you can feel the blow. Or when he gets a shotgun blast shooter right near him, he goes like, you can really feel like that. At the end where he's barely, you know, he has to get up and he barely has any energy. I think he uses the Bane serum, because it was green, and it kind of like, if you look at the reaction that he has, like he's close to like, you know, giving up, and then he puts that Bane serum in it, and he gets so much power and so much rage all of a sudden. So there might be a little tease on Bane right there, which would be great to see. Now we also get to see the Joker in this movie, where I feel like it was a cool, at first I was like, ooh, who's that? Oh, it's the Joker, it's the Joker. I was really excited to see him, but then I was like, I don't really want the Joker yet. I feel like they should hold off on the Joker, because like, we just got the Joker. Like, you know, so many iterations of the Joker. I kind of feel like there was kind of more like a fan service. Like, oh, let's put the Joker in because it's a most famous villain of the Batman. Everybody loves him. Let's just do that real quick. I feel like, hold on the Joker. Give a chance of other Batman villains. I really think you should give other Batman villains a chance, not just the same over again villains that has been used in movies. There's so many villains of the Batman that I really would love to see. It's just like I would love to see Mr. Freeze, one of my favorite Batman villains, and you can make a realistic versions of Mr. Freeze. Man-Bat, I would love to see Man-Bat. Like in that universe, Man-Bat would be freaking awesome. And people say, well, it's too supernatural. It wouldn't fit the realistic tone. I mean, like, hello, we're watching a dude dressed as a bat fighting crime. Like, when is that ever going to be realistically? It's like people, I don't get what people say, oh, that doesn't, you know, that's too much supernatural. This is Batman we're talking about. You can make a realistic version of Man-Bat, Mr. Freeze. I mean, hell, Two-Face, if we even get to see in Two-Face. Two-Face and Joker, there's also villains that have been done multiple times. Give a chance to other Batman villains who I think would have been also great for, like I said, Mr. Freeze and Man-Bat. I want these two in the movie. The tone is just so great in it. I like the way Batman acts. Also when he does detective work, I like that he gets his little lens where he records things and everything throughout it. It's just, this movie has done so great. This movie is so good. It's just like the characters, the way they're represented, all the performances are great. And also this last scene at Arkham Asylum where Batman talks with the Riddler. I love that scene so much. But it was basically just like the same thing we got in A Dark Knight with Batman and Joker. It's like, this time it's with Batman and Riddler. But it's so great when Riddler's talking about Bruce Wayne, and you think at first that like, oh, he knows Batman is Bruce Wayne, and then he's like, we almost got him, didn't we? And then I just love, also when you start singing Ave Maria, it's just like, that was like, yep, you're crazy, perfect, that's played so perfectly. I love that he just starts singing. This shows how crazy and insane he is when he finds out that Batman is not a part of him. You know, he felt like Batman and him are gonna team up or something. And also like that he is basically, you can see that like Batman is the reason why the Riddler exists. Because, you know, Batman's the one who kind of opened the door to the, you know, to those people who basically showed like, you know, you can do stuff on your own, achieve order and everything on your own, basically. So the Batman is the reason why a Riddler even exists in this Gotham. But it was done really great. Really done. I love the Batmobile. Like, at first I was like, the Batmobile doesn't look that cool, but I feel like it was cool. Also the scene where it just cuts off. I love moments where Batman like kind of fails a little bit because you see his inexperience. You can see he's still like trying to get his foot settled, you know, he's trying to see what has happened. Also love the moral dilemma that he has with himself, like where he feels like he's not sure if Batman, if he wants to be Batman, and if Batman will be enough to save Gotham. And I also love the backstory that we get, like with his father and the Arkham family, which we didn't really get much, actually at all in any of the movies about the Arkham family. Because I was also curious, why was it called Arkham Asylum? It's definitely in the comics books, but I haven't read any of those. But I feel like I love the backstory behind him and how the Riddler's trying to, you know, Bruce Wayne's father promised so many years ago that like it will change, we will make this a better Gotham, and then basically just forgot it, and now Bruce Wayne has to pay the sin of the fathers. And I would say Robert Pattinson, like I said, Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, Paul Dano, Colin Firth, Matt Reeves did a great movie directing this movie. The tone, also like this movie takes its time. It doesn't rush us to anything, and it lets scenes settle and moments settle. It doesn't quick jump to everything. And the action is also filmed great, but there are some times in the third act where the cutting of the action becomes a little jumpy, but I feel like, be careful, but it's minimal, it's very minimal. Because this is the early version of the Batman, like he still has to earn Gotham's trust. Because like even though the villains are scared of him, the PD and the politicians, they don't trust him yet. And then when you see him, Batman risking his life when he cuts the power line, like really giving his all to save Gotham, you know, when the harbor came down and everything was done great. So I have so much fun with the Batman. I'm gonna give this movie a 9 out of 10. Batman, let me know what you think about it. Did you like it? Did you didn't like it? I had a blast with this movie and I cannot wait for the sequel. But I do hope, like I said again, hold on the Joker. What I really think how you could include the Joker, I feel like when they make the sequel, we should have a different villain, and at the end of the Batman 2, you can have the Joker for a few minutes of a screen time and then him be the villain for the third Batman, which I think will be great. But give us Mr. Freeze. I just want Mr. Freeze in the next Batman movie, because this is a villain. I think it would fit very well in this universe. But thanks everybody for watching. As always, see you next time.